This is the story of a time long ago, a time of myth and legend, when the ancient gods were petty and cruel and they plagued mankind with suffering. It's not very nice. Only one man dared to challenge their power, and his name was Hercule. Right. I see what I've done here. Sega's very own Altered Beast has become one of the most well-known games on the Sega Mega Drive. After an initial release in arcades in 1988, it made its way across to the Mega Drive as a launch title in '89. Sega needed a game to show off the power of their new system, and what better way than to port across a popular arcade title like Altered Beast. The Mega Drive port brought across everything from the big character sprites to detailed voice samples.
Power up!
But what made the game so impressive was that it was so close to the original arcade release. If you compare the two side by side, you can't really notice a huge difference between them, and that was incredible considering the hardware limitations of the console. So incredible, in fact, that I ate a burger named after Altered Beast a few weeks ago. It was a really good burger. Sega also released a Master System port around the same time, but the animation just makes it feel like you're being repeatedly slapped in the face for the 20 minutes it takes to finish the game. Animating frames obviously wasn't a huge priority when they were bringing it across, because this has some of the worst motion I've ever seen. Seriously, just look at it.
Rise from your grave.
The game starts out with the resurrection of a generic Roman centurion by the Greek god Zeus. I don't know how long this guy had been dead for, but he's managed to keep his clothes and limbs intact, which is actually really impressive. Zeus explains that he's brought you back to rescue his daughter Athena, who's somehow managed to get herself captured by the demon god Neph. Why Zeus couldn't just use his Zeus powers to rescue her himself is completely beyond me, but he's decided to leave that job up to you. I'd like to take this opportunity to point out that Zeus could have resurrected anyone. I mean, like, literally anyone. He could have gotten someone like Hercules, Achilles, medieval Batman, but instead, he chooses tall, blonde, and why is your head so tiny? If we ignore the disproportionate zombie centurion for a moment, the game is actually surprisingly faithful to Greek mythology. You start out in the Acropolis, move through to the underworld city of Dis, and have to fight off zombies, turtles, and purple bipedal unicorn men, who are also ninjas. Accurate mythology. If Zeus hadn't found that centurion, I don't know how Athena would have escaped, what with her fluffy hat and her shield and her spear thing. She's a war god, isn't she? The combat here is exactly what you'd expect from your typical brawler. You move to the right and you punch things in the face.
Whoa.
Or the crotch. It's kind of up to you. There's also this weird air kick that he does when you push down and kick. He doesn't kick forward, he doesn't kick to the side, he drops onto his back and kicks straight up. I don't even know what this is supposed to achieve. There are only a handful of enemies in the entire game that can be attacked like this, so the way I see it, there's only one logical explanation for it. I just want to tie a game like that now. Just forget Sega, forget Altered Beast, just aerobics. But sadly, Altered Beast isn't a game about a buff centurion with a profound love for aerobicizing. It's about punching dogs so hard they explode. See, Zeus might be an irresponsible parent, but he's not such a bad guy. Instead of leaving you and your fists entirely defenseless against the armies of the underworld, he's given you the power to transform into the Altered Beast. But it's not quite that easy. In order to transform, you have to collect power-up orbs that he's hidden in every stage. In dogs. That's nice. Hey, little guy! Give me all of your bee syrup. What I've never understood about Altered Beast is the Centurion only ever eats 3 orbs before he transforms. Even if he manages to find another one, he doesn't use it to Hulk up anymore, he just sort of grabs it and doesn't do anything with it. So what would happen if he ate 4? One of the coolest things about the game is that every stage sees you transform into a different beast. Sure, I spent the majority of my childhood under the impression that you could only ever transform into a wolf, but if anything, it just taught me a valuable life lesson when I got to the second stage and realized that everything I'd ever believed had been a lie. Like Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. And Nicolas Cage's hair. But as cool as they are, the transformations make the game incredibly easy. By the end of each stage, not even the bosses pose a threat anymore. Not Agar, not Octeyes, not even Moldy Snail. Part Snail, part Salamander. Nailed it. And herein lies one of the game's biggest problems. While it's fun to cruise around and wreak havoc as a giant overpowered man-mutant for a while, that can only hold my attention for so long. At the end of the day, I have a harder time jumping over the bottomless pits in Stage 3 than defeating enemies. And they're not even sentient, they're just a bunch of holes. This, combined with the fact that the game's only 5 stages long, means that there's very little replay value. After you finish the game once, which only takes about 20 minutes, there's not a lot more to see. The enemies spawn in the same places, they still take a single hit to kill, and the ants still have raging, anger issues. If I look at Altered Beast objectively, I can say it's not the greatest game ever made. I mean, some people would probably go so far as to call it terrible, but despite all of its many, very obvious flaws, I still like playing it. Altered Beast is far from a masterpiece. The gameplay is simple and the controls are clunky, but the transformations make the entire experience memorable. Yes, they make the game easy, but they're also part of what makes it unique and so much fun. They also carried over to a PlayStation 2 release of the game in 2005. Those transformation sequences must be awesome by now. And now I'm scarred for life. It's funny because that's exactly what it sounds like. And now here's Michael McDonald marrying Gwyneth Paltrow into Wolfman. The end.